Chicago played, Kobe White played one of his best games as a pro, but the winner was not the Chicago Bulls. No, it wasn't. The winner was the Lakers. Because officially, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young do not work together. They don't work. 2 point guards. Who knew? Atlanta is 20-31 when DeJounte Murray and Trae Young both play. They're actually better when just one of them plays. And the Hawks are going to keep DeJounte Murray. Here's why. They traded 3 first-round picks for him. So they want to keep him. And also, I would make the argument you can get more on the market for Trae Young. So the Lakers need a bucket getter and a playmaker. As you know, LeBron's getting very old. And they also have the best defensive player, in my opinion, in the NBA, in Anthony Davis. So he can cover for Trae Young's defensive deficiencies. Atlanta's going to keep DeJounte Murray, who averages 23 a game. But if you look at DeJounte Murray's stats, when Trae Young's not around taking the ball, he averages close to 25 or 26 points, and his assists almost double. So DeJounte Murray is going to go from 23 a game, probably to 26, 27 a game. They're going to funnel the offense around him. He's going to go from like 5 assists to 9, 10 assists, 11 assists a game. He's going to be a star in the league. And then Trae Young, they'll get draft picks and players for him. They could use better defenders. Lakers have them. So the Lakers have a lot of things, right? They have size. They have experience. They have AD's defense. What they don't have is a star in their 20s. You know who does? Everybody in the West. Dallas does. Phoenix does. Minnie does. OKC does. Denver does. That's the one thing the Lakers do not have. An ascending star in their 20s. They don't. Everybody in the West does. All the good teams do. By the way, the Warriors, Sacramento does. De'Aaron Fox. Dallas and Luka. OKC, SGA, Minnesota, and Edwards. The Lakers don't. They need one. So they're going to add Trae Young. I think he fits L.A. Atlanta is going to go with DeJounte Murray, who they already gave up a basket full of picks to get. And it's very clear. When Trae Young is not on the floor with DeJounte Murray, his numbers are all-star level. He's going to be 26, 27 a game, 9, 10, 11 assists. So Kobe Whitehead, who's an interesting player. Fun, fast, quick, scores, not a great defender. Not sure what to make of him. But that game really last night, that was about Atlanta coming to terms with, yeah, this thing doesn't work. Trae and DeJounte Murray, it doesn't work. And the Lakers have always done really well when they roll the dice on a 20-year-old star. The history is this town's built for stars. L.A. does stars right. Matt Stafford has worked here. Mookie Betts, Ohtani. This has always been a market. The coaches are stars. L.A. likes stars. Trae Young, my guess, coming to L.A.
So, okay. I think Colin doesn't necessarily bring up bad points here. I think there's, I think Trae Young could succeed in LA, especially with, LeBron. I mean, like anyone works with LeBron. Let's be serious here. But here's the issue that I see. One, Trae Young's personality, and this is assuming that LeBron's still there. Trae Young's personality with LeBron James, I'm not so sure that meshes well personally. And two, this is where we have to ask ourselves, where is the direction of the NBA going? Because we know that they kind of changed things up from officiating, letting it be more physical post All-Star break, and it's been wildly more exciting. I am such a fan of changing rules and adapting. And I think what the NFL did to make it more offensive driven and safer has just been home run, home run, home run, home run. And basketball now, they wanted it to be more offensive driven. And I liked it. But then when you also see how many whistles, there's just nothing more brutal than having the game stop every 5 seconds for a foul. That is actually why I really enjoyed watching women's college basketball. Because the lack of fouls and the lack of stoppage was amazing. There were so many times that I was, a lot of times when I was watching those, the Caitlin Clark games and stuff, I was working out. And so it just felt that there was going to be these moments when it was like, okay, the time is going to stop now. And so I was like getting ready to like pick up a weight or something. And it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, they're still playing? Okay. Like, I could just feel the pace was different. And I was like, this is so great. This is so much better. The NBA. And that's why part of what I've kept saying to make the NBA better is to reduce the level of timeouts they have, as well as reduce the fouls. I mean, no, I just don't want to see these players shooting 20, 30 free throws. It's just brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And so now they did that. But there's always been this big discussion of how there's less fouls in the playoffs. And so people get angry about that. Some people do. It seems to be split. Because some people, and even ex-players, they say, I want it to be the same as it is during the regular season, because now you get to the playoffs and you don't know what a foul is. But the reality is that there's the issue that if it's so physical as it is during the playoffs, that these players they won't be able to last throughout the season, that they'll either get injured or they'll just be out of gas. So therefore, you do call it a little bit easier during the regular season and then harder during the playoffs. From just a, perseverance, standpoint to preserve the quality of the product come time playoffs, it makes sense. But and whether or not these guys can handle it for the length of an entire season, I don't know. And the reason why I'm asking this whole question is because we see a player like a Trae Young and just assume that, well, hey, these other players have been able to do it, Kyrie, Steph, and stuff like that. He is not as good as them. He is not as good of a shooter. He is not as good as handles as Kyrie. So people think that just because some of these other players have been able to do it means that, like, well, of course you can do it. Look at this guy. He has some of these signs that can of these other players. But if the league is especially going to go back into a more physical league, yes, do I think Trae Young now is just going to be a bum? Absolutely not. But is he someone that you want to give a ton of money and really rely on? I don't know. I don't think so, especially come time playoffs. LeBron is only getting older. So he's only going to decline. I know that's hard for people to accept, but that's going to happen. And AD is not going to be able to play until he's 40, like LeBron. He's also going to, go down the hill pretty quickly, So I just think that you want to build this team around a Trae Young, or, add a Trae Young and think that that's a missing piece. He's too small. He's too weak. And if the league is going back to a more physical league, he will decline. Not to mention, we already see what he's like in the playoffs. And sure, he's had some great performances against questionable teams, but otherwise, no. And I know he was banged up and, with his hand or whatever, his fingers, whatever exactly the injury was exactly, and how he had surgery on it. But make no mistake about it, in a more physical, intense league with big bodies, and as Colin has said himself, that he thinks that the NBA pendulum is swinging back to the big and strong guys, back to the Embiids, the Jokic, the Wembanyamas, and all of that, and that the small ball is dead. That's what he literally talked about. He said the small ball worked because of the Golden State Warriors were special and were unique, and it worked because you had Clay and Steph, and then, KD, and that you were able to do that. They were able to shoot the lights out of the ball. And that it's going back, and now they're too, the Warriors are too small, and small ball just doesn't really work right now unless you really are shooting 60%. That's not Trae Young. So granted, if you get Trae Young, it doesn't mean that you're going like small ball, but if you're relying on your big body still to be AD and LeBron in year 40, 41, I'm just not so sure I see it. I'm not seeing where that can work in the long term. I think it'll be a nice piece, and Trae can hit these open shots, but I'm just not so sure that's what the Lakers would necessarily need. Plus, I would be weary of his personality personally, but that's just me. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Trae Young should go to the Lakers, and do you think he would succeed with the Lakers with LeBron and AD? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. and see you next time.